Welcome to another video of mine from my company. I do on the side is RTF Equipment Repairs. What I'm going to do today is service my own personal work truck. It's been misfiring for some time. Actually, when it's been really cold, it does it a lot more, and it also seems to maybe spark knock. So what I'm going to do today, I don't know exactly when it's been serviced and what's been serviced on it. I bought it from a company I used to work for. It was a Kubota dealer. If you've seen in my previous video, I don't know if you would have seen it or not, but there's Kubota stickers still on the side, and there's some stuff still on the tailgate that I've not been able to get off, but I like Kubota, so I don't care to leave that on there. What I'm going to be doing today is just doing spark plugs, wires, cap, and rotor. I've got several other things I'd like to get to if time allows. I'd like to put a backup camera on it because the toolbox I have in the back makes it really hard to back up a trailer, and also just to back up to the trailer, it would be a lot easier. I'd also like to, for my crane on my trailer, I just run a set of jumper cables. I think they're 25 feet from the battery back to another set of jumper cables that are attached to the crane itself. I'd like to cut the ends of that off, put a circuit breaker in, put the circuit breaker up here by the battery, and then run the cables kind of under the truck on the frame back to the back of the truck, and then have a quick plug to plug in and unplug. It'd be a lot easier, quicker to do that, and just less hassle. So I'll get started on this. I'll go ahead and do the tune-up first. I'm going to do spark plugs, wires, cap and rotor, like I said, and a coil. So I'm going to get started on that. I did a fuel filter not too long ago, so I'm not going to do another fuel filter, and we'll see if that makes it better. It seems to backfire more when it's cold. My dad is a Ford mechanic, and he said that it could also be a temperature sensor. So as I'm taking these spark plugs out, I'm going to go ahead and take them all off on this side first, and then I'm going to gap the new ones. There's an emission sticker on the side of the valve cover over here that gives you some information. It gives you the emission standards, and it gives you actually the engine oil it's supposed to use, and also the spark plug gap is on there. The spark plug gap is 0.042 to 0.046. So I'm going to set my feeler gauges to 0.044, which is the exact middle. So I'm going to do that to set my new ones. I'm going to go ahead and finish getting these spark plugs out, and then we'll get the new ones gapped. This is a Windsor 351 5.8 liter V8. It does seem to have plenty of power for what I do. I wish the transmission was a 4-speed automatic instead of what it is. It is a 3-speed with no overdrive, and the gears really seem too far apart to really have good torque for towing or anything, but this truck's just an XL. Well, that spark plug's not even tight. This transmission, the way it's set up, it's just not really geared for towing at all. But my truck, the way it sits with that bed in it, it's about 7,900 pounds, and the gross vehicle weight rating is 8,600, so it's pretty much at its max towing capacity most of the time. But spark plugs really don't look too bad. That one was loose. I'm sure that was probably a lot of my problem with the backfiring, or could have been. Well, I keep dropping them. But that's okay, I'm not reusing them, so. All right, I'll get the new ones gapped and we'll start putting those in. So I got my parts from Rock Auto online. I did that because I first just looked it up to see how much everything would be. And I found all Motorcraft stuff. And it seemed pretty cheap. They sometimes aren't as cheap because they charge shipping. But this time it seemed pretty inexpensive. Everything was about around $130, and that was with shipping. So I went ahead and just did it, and everything I got, like I said, was Motorcraft. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on these and get them put in, and we'll start on the other side. Okay, now that I've got the spark plugs all finished up, I'm going to go ahead and route the wires, I guess, and also work on the cap and rotor. I don't know what to do first, or don't know what I want to do first. I don't like taking all the wires off the cap and then, routing the wires. I'd rather do the cap all at once, not just... I may go ahead and route the wires and put them all back on the cap, and then do the cap itself. I'll be taking the wires back off, of course, of the cap, but then do the cap after that, so I can keep them all where they need to be and not get anything mixed up on the cap. So I'll get that going. Alright, I didn't really video the wires on the passenger side because they go under the throttle body and all that stuff, so it's really not easy to see. I'm going to go ahead and I'll film this side because you can see the cap and pretty much the whole spark plug wire down to the spark plugs. So I'm going to go ahead and change this side. I think I'll go ahead, I got the wires attached to the cap here. I think I'll go ahead and change the cap now, and then I won't have to do as much plugging and unplugging as I go. Alright, now I got the spark plug wires done. I still have the wire that goes from the coil to the cap, but I gotta change this coil first. I didn't think about it, but I should have ordered a capacitor. You may not be able to see, but you might. But the wire is showing out of the insulation right down in there. It doesn't really look that good. I'll go ahead and order one. The belt or something is squeaking also. I'm going to get that checked out a little bit later in this video, probably soon. That might be the next thing I do. I'm going to get that checked out, and I'll get parts ordered for that too, so that I can get that belt to quit squeaking. I'll probably order a new belt and whatever pulley or whatever's squeaking. It could be the water pump too, and I may just go ahead and order a water pump. I don't know when I'll get to install a water pump, but I'll have one for when I do get to install it maybe. But I will definitely go ahead and get that capacitor ordered and get that changed. That's not really a big deal. And I'll figure out what's going on with the squeak. Let's go ahead and get this coil changed. Noticed while I was changing the spark plug wires on the passenger side that it looks like my coolant, or not my coolant, my AC line is leaking over in that direction. I noticed last summer whenever I started driving the truck, started, driving it in the summer, or when it was warming up, the air conditioner didn't work. It was a little bit low on refrigerant, so I topped it off, and it worked fine all summer. I've had this truck for 3 years, coming up this spring, and when I got it, the air conditioner worked fine, so I'm guessing it just started leaking since I've had it. I'll show you where the line's pretty damp looking, so I don't know if the leak may be getting worse or if that's just the slow leak, but after charging it in the spring, it worked all summer fine. The air conditioner really works good in this truck when it's charged up. Alright, that is that. I'm going to go ahead and check the oil. This thing does use a little bit of oil, so I'm going to go ahead and check it, top it off. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit low. So I got the belt loosened. Well, I got it off in one spot. I'm going to check some stuff. It kind of looks like the viscous fan has leaked some oil or something. Because there's oil all over the fan pulley. There's nothing around the water pump. The water pump looks fine, but something is squeaking. I noticed in the outer rib on the power steering pump, and it looks like the AC compressor and the alternator. Something has caused the, well, something's not caused, but something has wore into those pulleys, like rubber on the belt has come off of these pulleys, or come off onto these pulleys. It's kind of strange. A lot of times I'll see rocks get down in there in the grooves and wear the rib off the belt, but the rib looks pretty good. It doesn't look perfect, but it looks pretty good. I'll get this checked out and see what I can find out. And get parts coming to replace whatever's making noise. So I've got the belt back on, and everything seemed fine as far as the pulleys, no idler issues. I think the belt may just be worn. I'll get a new belt, get that capacitor, and that'll finish up the tune-up on this truck, and I'll get started on some other stuff here in just a minute. But I'll fire it up, make sure I got everything right on the spark plug wires, and we'll start on the next thing. To get the keys. So the next thing I'm going to do on my truck today, I actually didn't mention it earlier, but I want to change my bumper on the back. It's got a quick cushion hitch, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's a quick cushion hitch, and I really don't like it. It's got its place, you know, as far as a good use. I don't really have a good use for it. It was on, basically this truck came from a tractor dealer, Kubota, New Holland, and they pulled balers with it usually, and they didn't have a ball or anything on it. And it's kind of neat. I'll show you how it works and what it does. And then I'm going to take it off and put just a standard bumper and receiver hitch on it. So here it is. All right, so here's the bumper. It's really a pretty decent looking bumper as far as how it looks. I mean, it's a little bit rough and everything, but it's not in bad shape. So there's two levers here. I'll show you what they do. Let me see which one's which. Well, I've got this bracket bent here. So I'll straighten that and then I'll show you what it does. Okay, I got that bracket straightened somewhat. So what these levers do, I was going to try and get the camera underneath, but then you wouldn't be able to see what this is doing. But there's this lever over here, makes it, there's a pin, there's like a tractor drawbar looking drawbar instead of like a receiver hitch. It goes way up under the truck, basically where the spare tire is, and it allows you to pull this thing out. You can see the pinhole right there. That's where it locks in. But this is, so basically if you're hooking up a baler or something, that's what they use this for most. So there wasn't a ball there. There's just like a channel thing that came up here, and you drop a pin through it, just like a baler or whatever, hay rake, tow behind hay rake, basically tractor implements. So that's what this was used for. And then this other lever, that allows it to swing side to side. So you could back up to it and then you could hook it up. And I don't know how well it would work, but there is a roller down here that this kind of rolls on to help it go back to the middle. But then all you gotta do is go back like that, and it locked in there, and then push it forward in there and it locks back into transport position. So this bumper is really kind of neat, but it doesn't serve a good purpose for me. What I do, that bracket that was bent under here, with those levers. I go in some pretty bad places sometimes, like logging trails, or I mean, I've been through creeks with this thing to get to the equipment that I work on. I did have the trailer plug mounted right down here next to these levers, and I've bent that thing several times, so I actually unbolted it and just zip tied it up there so that I can still use it and get to it when I need to. One other thing that I don't like about this bumper, and I guess it may be because the tractor implement deal, but the chain points are right down here and over here. So that makes your chains go out really wide, and you kind of got to have long chains to use this, because when you turn, those chains tighten up quite a bit. I'd rather have the chain mounts right below here, but what I normally do, you can, on this bumper, it's not the safest thing to do, but you can hook them up under here on the bumper, but it's not as safe as if you'd have them actually in the chain holes. So several reasons why I'm getting rid of this bumper, putting a regular bumper on and a receiver hitch. You can't adjust your trailer height here with that. It's just, it is what it is. The bumper does go up and down on its mounts under there. So you can adjust it a little bit. It's a pain, and it's really not user friendly as far as if you need to adjust it for different trailer heights. But this one, for my trailer's pretty tall, and this won't go high enough, and my bumper's bowed out real bad, just from a lot of weight being put on it, and it hits, if I go up any higher, I think there's one spot higher on here that I could go, and it would hit if I move this bumper up any higher. So I'm going to change it out and see if I can get the other one on here and get it to work. Okay, so I've got the jacks positioned. I did want to make sure that that bumper and hitch was going to work on my truck. That bumper was originally on a 97 F250, and I wanted to make sure that it's the same as mine and that it's going to fit. Mine is a 94 F250, and it is the same. Apparently at that time, they didn't actually have, a receiver hitch wasn't actually a common thing to put on these trucks, I guess, because there's no holes for the receiver hitch to bolt onto. I know this other truck was actually my grandpa's truck that these parts came off of, and I know when he first got it, he didn't have a receiver hitch for a long time. He did tow with it, and he towed a baler, and he had a little trailer. He had a bumper hitch on, but he mostly pulled a gooseneck trailer, so he didn't have a hitch on it when he first got it. And he actually bent his bumper pulling, I guess it was the baler, because balers are super heavy. They got a whole lot of tongue weight. Actually, I don't know that there's any hitch on a truck that would be rated for most balers. Most balers have such a heavy tongue weight. Most hitches aren't rated for that kind of weight, but he had it on his bumper. Then after he bent his bumper, he had gotten that receiver hitch and put on it. So what I'm going to have to do, since these trucks didn't originally come with one, I have to drill the holes in the frame for the receiver hitch. The bumper holes should be there, so this is going to be kind of a pain to have to drill those holes, but I'd much rather have that other bumper and a real receiver hitch than this cushion hitch that I do have, just because then what I do, like I said, going through creeks and stuff, this bumper sits pretty low compared to a regular bumper and receiver hitch. So since I have time to do it at the moment, I'd rather do it the way I want it and get it done. And then I'll start on something else. So I've got all but 2 bolts out. I'll go ahead and get the last 2 bolts out, and then I'll go ahead and drop the bumper down. So here's the bumper off of the truck, and also why it's called a cushion hitch. And this is also helpful with those hay balers whenever you haul something like that. it's got these springs in there. This is the pin when you pull that one of those levers that allows it to slide from, well, that wasn't the hole that I told you the pin goes through, but it goes through another hole. But anyways, this is the pin that goes through the bar, and basically it's on these springs, so it's cushioned, so that if you take off or stop real fast, it gives a little bit of cushion and not as much of a jar. So that's how that works. And then the height adjustment is over here on the side. When I got the truck, the bumper was all the way down, and I had raised it up 2 holes to where the tailgate didn't interfere since it's bent, but it was higher, and that helped some, but it still could go higher. But there is one more hole higher that it could go, but then it interferes with the bumper. So that's how that thing works. And I'd like to sell this bumper or scrap it or something. I think it's still worth quite, something for somebody to buy. But I don't know anybody that'd be interested in something like this. But anyways, that's that. I'm going to start figuring out this other bumper, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Well, here's what I got. I had to drill holes, or I'm having to drill holes in the bottom of the frame to get this receiver hitch on here. It's looking pretty good. I actually don't know that it's any higher than the other hitch I had, which I don't have problems getting it, getting high centered because of the hitch, going through a little creek or something. They're usually wet weather creeks, so they're kind of short and sometimes a little bit deep and stuff drags. But what I'm going to do is, this is more helpful. I think there's less dragging. There would be less dragging. There'd just be this instead of the whole bumper. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this light socket out here, drill that out, put my trailer plug there. That way it's handy. And then there's the chain hooks or chain loops there and there, real close. But what I'm doing, this is pretty interesting. I don't know if anybody else has ever thought of this before, but drilling underneath something really is not fun, especially pushing up from underneath something. I've had to drill out bolts on belly pans on high lifts and stuff. Those really aren't fun. Drilling these holes isn't fun. They make like magnetic drills. They like magnetize to the bottom of the frame, or they call them a frame drill. But a lot of these frames, you can't really get enough surface of the drill on it to magnetize well securely to the frame. I don't have one. They're really expensive. So what I've done is, this is just a Hitachi brand drill. It's a very durable, heavy-duty drill. I've had it for quite a few years, and what I've done in the past is stick a block of wood underneath. You have to get it a pretty decent height, you got to get it pretty close. But then take a pry bar, set that pry bar on it, and then push up on your drill. This isn't working very well the way I've got it sitting because I don't have a block. And that was what I was thinking I was going to end up doing. But I started setting the drill on the jack with the pry bar under it and prying off the jack. That way the jack was infinite height. But then I just kind of started using the jack and just setting the lip of the jack under right in here and pushing, just applying a little bit of pressure with my leg. That way I've got both hands on the drill. That makes it really nice to drill holes. So you got to be really careful. I mean, there's a chance of breaking a bit if you're not super careful. But I'll show you kind of how I've been doing it. I got 4 out of 6 holes done, so I've got 2 left. I'll go ahead and do one hole, show you how I'm doing it. And it's really working out pretty well. Let me get another flashlight here so it's easier to see. So I'm just putting the edge lip of this jack right up in that nice little groove spot in the drill. So just putting a little bit of pressure, not much. And then I'll start my drill. Get this adjusted just right. Okay, I got just a little bit of pressure. Now I'll start my drilling, and then as I need a little bit more pressure, I'll use my foot and push down on the jack handle. That's all there is to it. Normally drilling a hole like this, if you're just doing it by hand, not using anything to push up, your arms are going to be killing you by the time you're done. It's just so awkward of a position, and that makes it so much easier. So that's the 5th hole I've drilled. I've got one more, and I don't feel, my arms don't feel tired at all. So it's really a pretty neat idea. I don't know if anybody's ever done it before. I'm sure somebody somewhere has, but that really makes it pretty easy. So I'm going to get the last hole drilled, get this, get all these tightened. I've already got the ones tightened that I've already put in. I'm going to get this finished up, and then I'll move on to I'd like to wire up my crane wires like I was telling you, and I don't know where I want to have that come out at, but I'll figure out something, and then I'll show you what my thoughts are. So I didn't get everything done on my truck I wanted to. I ran out of time, and the video was getting kind of long anyway, so I'll just save that for another video, and I'll get this one posted and start another one.